So this little thing here is my first ever RF lens, and I thought I should go somewhere pretty cool to test it out. So to test this lens today, we're heading out to Canyon Creek Ice Cave. Now, I don't know if there'll be much ice in it at this time of year, but I think it should still be pretty awesome to check out. And the first part of our trip here today is cycling the 5 kilometers down this kind of gravel access road through this beautiful valley.
After some relatively easy cycling through some stunning landscape and then chancing upon some marmots soaking up the sun on their rocky home, our final destination came into view.
So that's the 5 kilometers of cycling done. This is a beautiful little valley just close to Moose Mountain in Kananaskis here. But where we're heading today is actually up on this cliff band behind me here. We've got a little bit of hiking to do, and that's where the cave is going to be. And one of the reasons I've chosen that spot to test this lens out today is because this lens is actually 11 millimeters wide. It's a diagonal fisheye, so it's super, super wide. So I figured getting into a kind of confined space where a wide angle might come in super useful would be a really good place to take this. So I think we have maybe a kilometer or two of pretty steep uphill scree. So time to lock the bikes up in the woods and then do the rest of the hike.
Locking up bikes in the woods always feels a little unnerving. There's of course no one around, and the chances of them going missing are incredibly slim, but the thought definitely crosses your mind. The trail up to the cave starts off steady and well defined until you make your way out of the woods.
So it's definitely the last maybe 500 meters to a kilometer of this little hike up to the cave. It gets pretty steep, and also the trail does get pretty braided. There's a lot of footprints, a lot of scuff marks, kind of all across the landscape. But from here, we can kind of see where we're heading. Just over here in between the trees, there's a bit of a upright kind of vertical cliff. So that's where we're aiming for. So you can't get too lost, but it's definitely takes your breath away a bit, this incline.
So it turns out that we actually did get a little lost, and we made this hike a little harder than it needed to be just by taking a slightly wrong turn along the way.
So not going to lie, I kind of wish I had poles for that last little section there. Pretty steep, pretty scrambly, quite a lot of scree, but we've made it. This behind me here, if you can see that, that's what we've come for, that cave there. And it's actually bigger than I thought, so let's go explore.
Just look at that entrance. Then as we approached the cave, the ice quickly appeared. Frozen formations and ice-cold water dripping from above. In all honesty, I was surprised to come across it so early, right here at the mouth of the cave.
So I knew it was going to be cold in here. I mean, they call it like the ice cave, but I didn't expect at this time of year for there to actually be any ice, but there is still quite a bit of it on the ground here. And in the back of the cave, there are icicles hanging from the wall. But luckily, did bring some layers with us because, yeah, it's chilly in here. It's like a little fridge. The cave is bigger than I thought it was going to be, and also goes further back than I thought as well. We have got our bike helmets with us, so we might pop those on if we're going further into the cave, but we're probably pretty safe right now in this larger section. But I think we'll throw a layer on and then see if we can find some photography compositions. I can tell already that super wide angle lens is probably going to come in pretty useful. So this little lens was sent to me by a company called TTArtisan, and it's a fully manual 11mm diagonal fisheye. So what that means is there is a bit of distortion with it, but it's not like a traditional fisheye where you'd get that very round image. So it still works for sort of landscapes, really wide landscapes. I did look up some sample images of this lens, and it's actually really sharp and really good quality for how expensive it is. And it's a full manual lens, so we've got the aperture ring here on a full metal construction, and also this manual focus ring as well.
At this point, I think it is worth mentioning that the build quality of this lens is far beyond what I expected. Even from the box it came in and how the metal construction feels in the hand, to the smooth and steady turn of the aperture and focus rings, they really are very satisfying. And it really does feel well made. It feels like a solid piece of kit that will last a long time.
Canon have become really anal about who they let build lenses for their RF systems. And if you're a Canon shooter, you're probably pretty frustrated by that. It's very difficult to get third-party lenses for full-frame RF bodies. And the only way you can really do that at the moment is by buying manual lenses. So essentially the camera doesn't think there's a lens attached right now. I have to set it to open the shutter when there is no lens attached for it to actually take a photograph. But it's super wide, and I think inside a cave like this is a really good place to test it. You might better see here, I get a huge field of view. And if I spin it around, I can actually get the whole cave entrance in here as well, just in one frame and one shot without shooting a panorama. And because it is super wide as well, what you'll find is if you put it on infinity focused, almost everything in frame is going to be in focus in one way or another, just because of the nature of the wide angle. So yeah, an amazing field of view, perfect for a situation like this. So let's test it out and see what shots we can get. So first here, I'm just having a play around at the mouth of the cave, at the opening, because without this lens, I wouldn't be able to get the whole thing in. And what I'm also trying to do is include myself or my friend Callum in part of the frame, just to give a sense of scale, because the opening of this cave is much larger than I thought it was going to be. So it's good to have someone in there to sort of reflect the actual size. I'm also using these ice formations in the bottom here, putting them in the foreground. And with this wide angle, I can really stretch it out. So it means the foreground ends up looking a bit larger and taking up more of the frame, and you can put it right at the bottom. One thing I am finding though is because it has a 180-degree field of view, is that I'm accidentally taking pictures of my feet, but I think I can Photoshop those out. And what is super wild about this cave is actually we're stood here really close to the entrance. It's relatively warm, but if you walk like 5-10 meters further back that way, the temperature drops really dramatically.
And as you venture further back into the cave, the floor becomes slick, ice stalagmites rise from the floor, and ice stalactites drip from the ceiling, as if they were made of clear limestone that could be thousands of years in the making. And of course, some of these formations make for some great photography subjects.
So trying to take advantage of the wide angle here, we almost have a full 180-degree field of view on this lens. So it's a lot, so I really need to fill the frame. So what I've done is come to this kind of icicle here, you can see. It's a big pile of ice that's frozen there, it's nice and textured. And it's really nicely catching the light from the cave entrance, and it's kind of side lighting this whole pile here. So as you can see on my camera there, I've got that in the right-hand corner, the bottom right-hand corner, and then we've got the cave entrance up here, which is obviously much brighter. And what I had Callum standing up in that cave entrance, just to put a little bit of interest in the corner there and show you how big everything is. And then I think if I combine both of those shots together, the lighter exposure of the icicles in the inside of the cave and then a darker exposure of the mouth of the cave, hopefully that will turn out pretty good. We did also just meet a couple of guys on their way out that said they went quite far back. So I don't think we've been as far back as we can do. So now we're going to go and have a little bit of an explore further back, right into the cave, to see if we can find anything else. I think it's time for the head torch, but let's see what we can find back there.
As we made our way to the back of the cave, the ceiling began to close in. Walls of ice appeared to support the cave roof above, and the rock walls took on a natural sparkle. Before long, we found ourselves squeezing through some pretty small gaps to explore a little further. However, we did quickly accept defeat before it got any tighter. We turned around and headed back the way we came.
So that was a fun little mission into that cave actually. It's more fun than I expected, and a good way to test out that lens as well. And so far I'm pleasantly surprised with it actually. I think the sharpness is going to be good and the build quality is surprisingly good. And there are a couple of locations, a couple of compositions that I've actually had my eye on for a little while that I haven't managed to quite make work before because I haven't had a wide enough angled lens. So I think this 11mm lens will work really well for that. It is also F2.8, so I think it's going to be great for astro. So once the snow clears, I'm going to go back up to Cascade Falls, I think, and get that waterfall, Rundle and Milky Way shot that I've got in the past. And there's a couple other places in mind I think I'll use it. And if you do want to check out that lens, it is pretty reasonably priced, and there's a link in the description below. If you use that link, it just helps support the channel.
As always, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you on the next video. But in the meantime, be sure to download a Canadian Rockies photography location guide using the QR code on screen or the link in the description below. And go on, watch another video.